First time we're meeting, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, right. Lovely. So let's start. Recording started. Yeah, fine. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host, Avik, and today we are going to challenge a belief that's been ingrained in so many of us. The idea that just think positive is the key to happiness and the success. So we have all heard it before, and so look on the bright side, stay positive, and don't dwell on the negative. But what if I told you that thinking positive isn't the solution? It's actually the problem. Yes, you heard it correct. It's actually the problem. So why I'm saying that exactly what my guest today, Anat Peri, is saying. So welcome to the show, Anat.
Thank you, Avik. Good to be here.
Lovely, lovely. So, Anant, like before we start getting deep into this topic, I'll quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners. Dear listeners, Anat is the inner child expert, mentor, and the founder of Training Camp for the Soul. So, she has spent over 20 years in personal growth and the leadership, helping thousands of people heal deep emotional wounds and break free from the toxic patterns and step into their fullest potential. So, her upcoming TEDx talk, Why Thinking Positive Doesn't Work, is already creating the waves. And today, she's going to share why true healing comes from the feeling, not just thinking. Oh, what a great rhyme. I got it here. So, yeah, true healing comes from feeling and not just thinking. Yeah. So, if you have ever wondered, like, why affirmations, positive thinking, or just being grateful haven't really changed how you feel, then uh, like if you have ever struggled with the emotions you didn't know how to process, or if you are looking to looking for a new way to experience the real and lasting transformation, then this conversation is for you. So why to wait? Let's dive in. Welcome to the show again, Anant.
Awesome. Thanks, Avik, for that beautiful introduction.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Anant. So um this question, like, why thinking positive? uh I mean, uh, I love the title of your TEDx talk for sure, like because it's such a bold statement. Like most people are taught that positive thinking is the way to change their lives. So, what made you realize that it doesn't actually work? Yeah,
My life experience of my mother telling me just
yeah,
think positive.
yeah,
Ever since I was, little. I mean, it's still her motto. I remember it
yeah,
was just like 2 months ago. We're sitting at Thanksgiving dinner, and I said something, and she goes, "Oh, just think positive." And I started to giggle
yeah.
because she didn't know what the title my she didn't know about my TED Talk title or content yet. And I'm like, "Yep, there's the evidence." She still says it, but growing up, that was my mom's motto around everything. So emotions weren't something that were validated. It was all about, how can I make her feel better, fix it, and have her focus on the positive emotions. And what that led to for me is like this constant emptiness, hollowness I felt inside, like as if something that I, just wasn't being expressed. And there was a lot that wasn't being expressed. And what that led to in my teenage years and my, early adult years was me becoming really skilled at avoiding my emotions.
Yeah.
So I would focus on working harder, staying busier, always hanging out with friends. I couldn't be by myself, like spending time by myself. I felt a lot of anxiety. I felt a lot of feelings come up that I had no framework of how to process because, again, my mom always told me to just think positive. So I would find myself home over analyzing things to make myself feel better, or again, always just distracting myself with something. And so I I never felt happy. I never really felt like it worked. And I want to say that affirmations or, positive things like that, it's not that they don't work. It's that you need to make true room for them. I find it's part of the equation, but it's not the whole equation. Think of it like your feelings, your emotions are what's at the root in your garden, and you can't just trim the weed. You have
Yeah.
to actually get to the root of it and pull it out. Then you can make room for something new, something positive,
Mm,
because emotions, they don't disappear. They sit beneath the surface,
mm,
and they rise up when we finally take a pause.
mm,
Um, and so yeah, so my whole talk and my whole experience of why is this true is because I lived the first 30 years of my life thinking positive, or just thinking that thinking positive and telling myself just keep
mm,
pushing through, go for what you want, that it
mm,
would work. But I wasn't happy.
mm,
I didn't have everything. I didn't have anything that my heart desired. And it ended up impacting me more and more as I got into more of my business, my professional career, because when challenges would arise, I just kept pushing through, and I found myself unable to enjoy my day to day anymore. So I
ah,
think a lot of people, we tell ourselves that, but when we check in on our enjoyment, our ability to be in joy,
mhm,
it wasn't there. It was panic. And I hit this breaking point of like sitting on the couch one night and
mm,
feeling overwhelmed by the fear or the doubts or whatever things I wasn't processing.
yeah.
And it really led me to have to face it, hmm and have to actually feel the things that I've been running from. And so, yeah, I had to retrain myself, and I think as a society, we have forgotten how to feel. We don't, people
Mm,
just don't even know what that means to feel a feeling. They know how to think about it, they know how to talk about it, how to
mm,
push it down, avoid it. Maybe you allow yourself to feel it for a few seconds, but then, you know, that's it. So it's never enough time for it to actually get processed and metabolized by the body.
mm. Understood. Totally agree on this. Yeah. And like uh here you have shared that growing up, emotions weren't really welcomed in your household. So how did that shape your early years? I mean, when did you start to see the impact of avoiding your emotions?
Um, yeah, like I said, it left me at a place where I wasn't comfortable with my own self.
Hmm,
So
okay.
I always needed to distract myself, be with other people. Um, there was a constant tension and anxiety that I
Okay.
felt, meaning it was beneath the surface. It was there because, like I said, emotions don't disappear, they sit beneath the surface. So it
Yeah.
was constant, but and that's, some people listening right now might be like, oh, I definitely feel things, but
Mhm.
they're constant. You're not actually feeling it. You're you're resisting it. And by resisting it, it persists, it stays there. And the reason for that is that your nervous system is always working for you. It's
Mhm.
always listening for safety or
Mhm.
threat. And when it senses threat,
Mhm.
and it doesn't have to be a real threat like being chased by
Mhm.
a tiger or something, because that's really for most of us not the current reality. But a threat could literally be when we say to ourselves, uh-oh, why am I feeling this way? I don't want to feel this anymore.
Mhm.
Just that response to something that's happening inside of us
Hmm.
can signal threat to our nervous system. So when our nervous system senses threat, it
Hmm.
puts us into a protective mode. It works for us. It puts us in a response, a reactive response of fight,
Hmm.
flight,
Hmm.
freeze, or please. So for
Right.
me, my coping was to either flee, to
Hmm.
always be running from it, which is
Right.
the feeling of anxiety, or
Hmm.
to people please, to just fold it all in and make
Hmm.
sure that I am pleasing so that I don't have to experience any,
Hmm.
uproar or and so forgot why I was bringing this up because you brought up a great question. Um so the opportunity for all of us is to learn to work with our nervous system. Oh, this was it. A lot of us think that we're feeling a feeling, but we're actually reacting to one.
Ah.
So people could be like, "Well, I'm anxious all the time," and anxiety is not really a feeling; it's a
Hmm.
running from a feeling. It's a reactive state. It's a state where your nervous system is, like I said, it puts you in like this bubble. So you may have this feeling, let's just call it, fear of failure. Like I'm really afraid that I'm gonna, lose my business or, this person's gonna break up with me or something like that. And it could be there, but you're not actually allowing yourself to feel that fear. And it's very subtle. You are reacting to it by either fighting, fleeing, freezing, or people pleasing. So, so it seems like you're feeling, but you're
Hmm.
not. It's like you're in this protective bubble and it's out here and it'll be there for years and years and years. I've experienced that.
Exactly. Understood. That's amazing. Yeah. And also, like, uh, a lot of people struggle with understanding that how to feel their emotions. So, if you can shed a bit light on this.
Yeah, it's very true. Like I said, we have forgotten
Yeah.
how to feel and
Mm.
actually really simple. So
Yeah.
listen up, people. And before I tell you
Oh.
how, I'm going to share a story with you. I
Oh.
was visiting my brother and his family,
Okay.
and I watched my 4-year-old niece have a big emotion,
Oh.
the kind the kind that we usually suppress or judge as too much.
Uh,
And she was really frustrated, and her
oh.
entire body showed it. She dropped to the floor. She was
Mhm.
pounding her hands, kicking her
Mm.
legs, crying, screaming, and her face was scrunched up in the perfect expression of everything she was feeling. And it seemed like it seemed chaotic. It seemed like
Mhm.
I need to stop her, help her fix this. But her parents didn't. They just let her feel it. And
Mm.
she moved through it in about 90 seconds.
Mm.
And so, and Harvard trained neuroscientist, Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, did a study that you can move through an emotion when you don't resist it, judge it, or push it down in 90 seconds, in about 90 seconds. And so that's what I witnessed with my niece. And I realized that at one point, we all knew how to feel our feelings. Uh, it's exactly what my niece did. It's a full
Mm.
body expression. And it's just that at some point, society, mom, dad, whoever told us that's not appropriate. You can't do that. Don't cry or get over it or just think positive or you're fine. You're fine. It's not that bad.
Mm.
And we stopped exercising the muscle of full self expression. If you ever are around a 3-year-old and they're upset, if you try and talk to them and say, "What's going on?" Why are you feeling this way? A lot of the times they're going to get more upset because you're trying to logic and talk to them, and they're just trying to express it with their full body. So they're like, leave me alone. Like, let me just let this energy move through me. And so it's the same thing for us that we get to remember now as adults, is that to feel a feeling is to let it take up space and use your whole body. What's the body language, right? What way would your body move if you feel that? What's the facial expression? What sound would you emote? When we do that, we're actually letting that emotion express itself. And you're not just expressing the emotion, you're training your nervous system to recognize it. So the next time that it happens, your body's more familiar with it, more equipped to metabolize it, and less likely to see it as a threat. If you think about certain emotions, Avik, that you're comfortable with, and certain ones that you're uncomfortable with, you and I may have different ones. You may be very comfortable um, with chaos, let's say, or sadness, and uh, uncomfortable with, believe it or not, calm and joy. I meet
Yeah.
so many people that are like, when things are calm, they are more anxious than when things are chaotic. Why is that? Because they grew up, let's say, in a household that's chaotic. So they're used to that. That's trained in their nervous system. Their body knows what to do when that arises. And so you give them a moment of peace and calm, and they're panicking. Go figure, right? Whereas somebody else could be very comfortable in peace and joy, and like, because they grew up in a household that was like that, and you put them in a chaotic situation and they freeze, they don't know what to do. And so it's different for all of us. And the opportunity is to expand our emotional capacity to the full spectrum.
Mm.
Like, think of every emotion as a program that you program into your computer system so that it knows how to run when that program kicks off, right? Or let's say it's a virus. When the virus kicks off, the computer knows what to do. And so instead of protecting ourselves, constantly shutting down, so to speak, we get to learn how to, let me run this for 90 seconds, right? Let me allow myself to express this for 90 seconds. 90 seconds is actually a really long time to
Exactly.
express. And not too long. It's longer to resist it and live with it. um, and then you'll notice a shift. So there's really, that's the key to it, is remembering to feel and express our feelings the way afforded.
Very true. Yes. And also, like, a big part of your work focuses on the inner child. So how does our childhood shape the way that we handle emotions as adults? Like, one thing you just now mentioned about, in a chaotic situation, how they manage it because they are grown up with the
Mhm.
chaos in the family. But any other thing, like, if you want to mention?
Yeah. So I think of the inner child as the part of us that holds all the emotions. So it's very similar to what I just said just now. So it's like we all have that part of ourselves that um, can express in that way. And everything that we learned in childhood. It's not who we are, it's just what we learned. And the good news is, if you learned it, you can unlearn it. And so, learning to also explore after you express your emotion of what, who did I learn this from? Or when was the first time I experienced it's not okay to cry, right? Or, I'm all alone. Like, it's an exploration of the script that you inherited and starting to edit that script. So your inner child is the party that's holding your emotions. It's also connected to all the beliefs and learnings that you had, and giving an opportunity for that inner child to take the driver's seat again, to feel safe, to express our emotions, and then start to question the beliefs that we learned and reparent, give ourselves new beliefs. This is where we bring in the positive, so to speak, the desires that we have, the beliefs that we want to have.
That's amazing. And uh, also, like, if someone listening realizes that they have deep emotional wounds from the childhood, uh, so what's the first step towards healing? What do you suggest?
Um, well, first step, I would probably suggest that they don't try and do it on their own.
Yeah.
You know, get support, hire someone, hire a coach or someone that can hold a safe space. It could be a lot to try and do on our own. And in this day and age, with the amount of resources that we have and the World Wide Web and, and social media, there's no excuse. There's no reason to say, I need to do this myself, versus like our parents' generation. Like, if they couldn't just search the web for it. It was like whoever they knew in their town. So I just really want to hit on that like this is our opportunity. We have the opportunity. Most people have the financial means, and if you don't, I think there's programs nowadays for every price point. Um, to be the ones to break the generational beliefs, the generational trauma, to be the ones to actually do the healing. So I will start off by saying that. Excuse me. Hmm. But as far as like little steps that you can take if you want to start to feel through things, and again, if you have a lot of trauma in me and it feels like too much, you will see that you won't be able to get through it on your own. But for some people, maybe you've done a good amount of work and you just feel like this is the finishing touch of it. So there's really three steps to it.
Mm.
Step one is expanding our emotional vocabulary. So for a lot of people, their vocabulary is limited to um, I'm angry, I'm sad,
Mm.
I'm frustrated, I'm happy, and uh, what if you pause and ask yourself, am I sad or am I disheartened? Am I discouraged? Am I lonely? And so there is a tool, and anyone can Google this. If you Google the mood meter, it's from Yale University. It's a tool for emotional intelligence that helps to expand our emotional vocabulary. So there's a lot of different names like sadness on there can range from disheartened to discouraged to miserable.
Mm.
So it builds our vocabulary because each one feels slightly different. Like Avik, there's a difference if you feel sad versus discouraged. And I asked you 90 seconds, go express it. How
Yeah.
you would express sadness would be slightly different than how you would express discouraged.
Mm.
So this is why it's important because it brings that accuracy. Excuse me. It brings accuracy to it, which helps you understand and process it
Yeah.
appropriately. So that's step one. So again, anybody can Google the mood meter and you'll
Mm.
see pull up the image of it and start to use it and ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? And then the second step is working with your nervous system. Remember, I said before that your nervous system's always working for you, listening for safety or threat. Well, when it senses, how can you get it to feel safe? How you get it to feel safe is by getting curious about the sensation that you're feeling. So let's say you're feeling, hmm, um, let's take discouraged, for example. Instead of uh, resisting it or not know, yeah, resisting, I don't want to feel this. It's upsetting to me. Getting curious about the physical sensations in the body. So you're bringing the focus from the emotion itself to how is it physically showing up in my body. There's a heaviness in my stomach. There's a lump in my throat. You know, as an example, right? So by naming the size, the shape, the texture, the temperature of the sensation, what you're doing is you're shifting, you're engaging the logical part of your brain, shifting your body from reactivity to calm, and the signals to your nervous system that it's safe. Like I said, you're speaking the language of the nervous system by being curious about the sensations. And so anybody could do this. You just take a few breaths and you say, okay, where do I feel this in my body? What's the sensations that are there? Is there a size, a shape, a temperature, a texture, a weight to it anywhere? And just naming that, you're bringing connection and body awareness, meaning, hey, it's safe to be in my body and observe whatever's happening here. Because our emotions, even though they don't live in our mind, they live in our body. They're energy in emotion. When we don't express them, then they get stuck. And so this is the beginning of it. And then step three is giving it 90 seconds to be the star. So for 90 seconds, letting this feeling take center stage, so to speak, letting it take up space, letting it express itself as if it's a 4-year old that is feeling that. So asking yourself, what's the body language? Like if I was an actor and the director told me, you're discouraged, I need to see that from you because we can't just say, I am discouraged. You have to act it out. We have to feel it from you, see it. They'd have to look at, okay, what's the facial expression of someone discouraged? What's the body language? What sound would I emote? And doing that for 90 seconds, like set a timer, 90 seconds, tell yourself, I can do this and act it out. It may seem awkward, silly, uncomfortable. Do it anyway for 90 seconds. Because, like I said before, you're training your nervous system to recognize it and even exaggerate it a bit because we tend to do the opposite. We tend to suppress our emotion as opposed to express and let it be exaggerated. So exaggerate it. Like, oh, right? That's an example of like, let's say being discouraged. And I just did that for 3 seconds. Imagine 90 seconds. So yeah, and what you'll find is it starts to shift. And on the other side of those 90 seconds, there's clarity, there's freedom, there's joy, it gets metabolized by our nervous system. So that's a good place to start, is doing those 3 steps. And then you can grab a piece of paper and you could explore on a subconscious level because it's about the body and mind connection. We want to move through the emotion, but then we also want to reprogram our script, our subconscious. So then you could grab a piece of paper and have a dialogue with yourself. Where did I first learn this? Who modeled this to me? Was it mom? Was it dad? You know, whatever that belief is, whatever led to feeling like, why do I feel discouraged? Oh, because I just don't think I'm ever going to be successful. Oh, where did I learn that like success isn't possible for me? Oh, My father modeled that. And when was the first time that I experienced this? Well, seeing him struggle and then turn to, you know, alcohol instead and give up on his life, blah, blah, blah. And you start to, and what did that bring up for me when I witnessed that experience? And you start to really unpack where you witnessed this, where this was modeled to you, and most likely at an age that you didn't question it. You just took it in as the only way, as the truth. And so here's the opportunity to start to question it and say, what did I need then? What did I need to say to dad or to mom? What did I need them to model to me? And you start to reparent and say, okay, I'm going to give this to myself now. But this is only after you felt through whatever emotions that brings up for you. Because again, the emotions are at the root. When we feel them fully, we clear them out. And then there's room. We make room for anything that we want to plant in there. And that's when you can look at what people that you look up to are doing or how they're being. Your life is a movie and you are the main actor and you play certain roles, play certain characters. For me, it used to be the people pleaser or, the codependent. And as you heal that stuff, you realize that you can become the creator of your life, which means you can invent yourself to play any role that you want. And how do you learn those roles? You look and you watch people that play those roles. This is what actors do. If an actor plays comedy and they want to break out of comedy into, let's say, drama, they're going to study, they're going to watch and study the actors that play those roles. They're going to learn the mannerisms, the body language, all that. So this is where there's room to model ourselves and bring in new ways of being.
Exactly. Perfect, lovely, great. I mean, I really love it. I mean, this has been such an absolutely eye-opening conversation today. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your story, and your passion for helping people heal in a real and lasting way.
Thank you,
So
Avik.
and for those who are listening, if you have ever felt like positive thinking wasn't enough, then if you have struggled with the emotions you didn't know how to handle, or if you are just ready to go deeper in your personal growth, then I highly encourage you to check out Anat's work. And you can follow her journey, learn more about the training camp in the soul, training camp for the soul, and watch for her upcoming TEDx talk. So, why thinking positive doesn't work? Yes. And if this conversation has resonated with you, and then share it with someone who needs to hear it. And we are all carrying something, and sometimes just hearing a new perspective is the key to the transformation. So, until next time, remember that your emotions aren't the enemy, they are the gateway to a healing, growth, and living the life you were meant for. So, with this, thank you so much. Have a great day ahead and keep healthy. Thank you.